Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Shit's Hard. I'm your host, Amber. And today we're talking about identity because this is something I feel like I've struggled with for so fucking long. I think it's gotten easier. I think it's gotten better over time, but I don't know like how much better. We're going to be talking about just like closing chapters and opening new ones and kind of like how that I feel like affects my identity. And also just kind of like where I'm at with my identity in like Los Angeles, and like I feel like I've gotten closer, but also like losing a person who is like a pretty big part of your identity too. So it's like a very weird shift. I feel like I'm at a very like strange time in my life. Of course, like you're in your 20s and you're just like figuring out who the fuck you are. And like it's a very like exciting time, I will say. But it's also like a little bit anxiety inducing. So let's get into it. At first, I want to talk about closing chapters because I don't know why, but this for me feels like a very cut and dry thing in my life. Like when I look back on the timeline, like when I left high school, I was like very ready to leave. And for some reason, I've always been very good at closing chapters. Interestingly enough, and I think I've talked about this before with my own anxiety, it's always about the future. So I really don't get a lot of anxiety about the past. For some reason, that doesn't bother me. I know for some reason it does other people. And they're like very like they get stressed about the past because you can't change it. And maybe they struggle with like regrets and stuff. Which I don't know why. For me, it's like very easy to be like, whatever, that's behind us. We have to look forward, keep moving forward, get anxious and stressed about what's forward, what's to come, which is interesting. So like when I left high school, I went to college 3 hours from home over at Kent State near Cleveland. And that's like kind of far. It's not bad, but like 3 hours from home is like a little bit far. It's not like you can always like come home on the weekends and stuff. Like it's not like 30 minutes or an hour. And none of the people from my high school were going to that college. Like maybe like 2 or 3. And I went to a big ass high school, and a lot of them went to like Bowling Green, Cincinnati, and that kind of shit. But for whatever reason, not a lot of people were going to Kent State, which I think might have drawn me to it because I was like, kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I'm always ready to close the chapters. I was like very ready to leave. I don't know why, but I just was like, this is the right decision. I need to go to the college where nobody's there. And like, I think that's part of like my struggle with identity is like, I don't know if I like tend to pick up stuff from the people around me, which everyone does to an extent. But of course, I was probably doing that in high school as everyone else does. And I think a lot of it maybe like wasn't me. And so I felt like this disconnect from where I'm from. And I didn't want to be there because I felt like if I was in that environment, then I wouldn't be able to grow and figure out who the fuck I actually am. Not that there's anything against that area, but like for me, it was like, oh, I was that person in that area and I can't go back to that area or else I'll go back in time. Like I will literally go back, revert back to who I was then, which I don't want to do. So college was like, it was like scary for sure. Going 3 hours from home, I met my roommate literally on like Facebook through like a group chat. I think I met her like once in person, then we just like lived together. And it was like, obviously like, you know, you hear roommate horror stories and stuff. So it was like, where the fuck is this going to go? But I was so ready for that. Like looking back, like I'm very impressed with myself and the anxiety that I have. Cause yeah, it was like scary for sure. But one, it all worked out in the end. And for two, I think I was like ready to restart. I was like very ready to be somewhere where nobody knew me and nobody had this preconceived idea of me for some reason. I have no idea why. But yeah, it ended up being great. I mean, I lived with that roommate for fucking 4 years after that. Like now we're good friends. All 4 years we lived together. And that's kind of crazy because it was just like fucking random, but very grateful for that experience. Of course, but I don't know why, but in college, I think I also, again, like was trying to figure out who I was and didn't exactly accomplish that goal yet. And so once I finished college, I was like, I'm ready to go to California because I need to, again, get out of this space where this like present tense current version of me exists. And I need to leave her there. You know, like she's at Kent State. She's fine. I have no like, something that I feel like I'm good at is like not being hard on my past self because again, my anxiety lies in the future. So like, I don't like have any regrets really. Like, you know, I did go to architecture school. I got this 4-year degree. I'm not using it now. You could say that was like a waste of time and money, but I genuinely do think that at the time I was doing the best that I could with what I had and what I know about myself. So again, I was like very ready to like leave that Amber in Kent State and move across the country to Los Angeles, again, where nobody knows me. And I felt like I was getting closer to who I am, which is like a very exciting thing. Also very scary for sure. But I just like knew luckily, I know it's like an annoying thing to say, but like luckily I just like knew that was the right thing to do. I only visited California, Los Angeles once before I moved here. That was over spring break last March for like a week, and I was mostly in Santa Monica. And I honestly didn't even vibe with it that much. So I was like, oh fuck, like I didn't really vibe with it that much. Like, am I still gonna move here? I don't know. And I just was like, I don't know, but this is like the right thing to do. Like I have to go. Like I was like, I have to try this thing, even though it's very scary. And it was giving me a lot of anxiety. I actually went back to therapy before I moved here to like work on like getting more comfortable, getting uncomfortable. Because just because you're scared to do something doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Almost arguably sometimes a reason that you should do it. And so for me, it was like, all right, like I'm not wanting to do this because I don't want to do it. I'm not wanting to do this because I'm scared of doing it. And that's why you have to. But yeah, I definitely felt that connection to like identity in terms of like I needed to get out and like be somewhere where no one knew me. And why did I have to do that twice? Feels very weird. And hopefully I don't feel like I have to do that again because I don't want to do that again, because now I am very happy in this environment. And I'm not saying I wasn't happy at the other environments. Like I'm not saying I was unhappy in high school or unhappy at college, because I don't think that's necessarily true. But I do think I was putting on not even like a facade, not even that. I wasn't being fake because I genuinely didn't know who I was. So like that's what I'm talking about in terms of like regrets in my degree and how I was studying architecture. And I probably knew by my last year, probably even my third year at least, that this like wasn't for me. Like it's like this is not going to be my career field. I think I knew that. I was very like, but what the fuck else would I do? Like literally, like again, I did not know who the fuck I was. I didn't know what I wanted. So like if I was going to change degrees after I already finished 3 years of this degree, what was I going to switch to? Waste more money trying to figure out something else and time? Like I'm glad I didn't do that. I don't know if I'm necessarily glad that I finished. I don't know if that was like necessary, but I did learn a lot from that degree anyways. Like I'm interested in entertainment and podcasting and like content creation. And so what's really cool is the degree that I chose, architecture, was like connected in the sense of like design and creativity. And I learned all the Adobe suites through college. So like we were all the time doing online software and editing and shit like that. It just was I was editing photos of like buildings and stuff instead of like me. But like they're definitely correlated, which is really cool. And it's even more so why I like don't have any regrets, but more so like I'm like glad. Like I'm like pleased with my storyline and like where I came from, because it got me here for one. And part of me is like, obviously it'd be nice if the story went differently and I knew what I wanted from fucking birth. Everyone's life would be significantly easier if we didn't have to like figure ourselves out. One thing that I have thought about a few times is like, so my parents paid for my college. We've talked about this before. And part of me is like, oh, well, like if I would have like known I wanted to do entertainment and go to LA, then like it would have been so nice if they would have just gave me that money instead of spending it on college. And then I could have just went to LA, lived off of it, and figured out who the fuck I was. And it would have been like same experience as college, because college is preparing you for the real world. That would have been preparing me for my future career and endeavors. But that also would have been fucking crazy. My parents definitely wouldn't have done that. And that's not the story. You know what I mean? Like that's like, it wasn't supposed to play out that way. I do think like everything happens for a reason. So I'm like grateful with the way that my chapters close. And I'm grateful that for some reason the past doesn't give me anxiety, because for some reason when I close a chapter, I just feel very ready for the next one, which is nice. That's like a good way that I feel like I know myself, because I know when something isn't for me anymore. And even when it's really fucking hard. I mean, just the same thing as this fucking past relationship. I kind of knew that I had to leave it in order to figure out who I was, which again was extremely fucking hard and awful. And I didn't like want to do that, but I knew it was what I had to do for me, which is cool. It's cool to like at least have that level of self-awareness and know yourself in that sense, even when it's really, really hard. So is that was something that's hard too. And that's what I feel like is happening right now. I'm kind of closing this, 4.5 year chapter and stepping into something new where I haven't been for a long time. And it's really uncomfortable, but I do feel like ready for it, which is good. That doesn't mean it's like not still hard, but so, that's kind of where I'm at with identity. I do feel like I'm so glad I came to LA, because even just in like a smaller sense of like fucking clothes and shit, or just like your daily routine, like I don't even know, like my Instagram page, like since I've been out here, I like did a full cleanse of my Instagram. And I want to emphasize, like, it's not like social media is like the most important thing in the world. Obviously, if I'm trying to do content creation and entertainment, it's a little bit important. However, what bothered me the most about my Instagram page like a year ago is it didn't feel like me. It didn't look like me. Like when I looked at that page, I was like, I just don't resonate with this. Like that's like fucking annoying to see like photos of yourself, posts of yourself, captions that you wrote yourself and feel like that's not you. That sucks. And again, it's not like I was being fake. I don't think I was being a shell of myself. I just genuinely didn't know who I was or how to be myself or how to step into that. And so that's just where I was, which is totally fine. But I'm so glad that when I came to LA, I did this little revamp and I cleared out my Instagram and I started just like genuinely with social media. I just started doing whatever the fuck I wanted and it's made me so much happier. And that's what I would recommend like anyone else does, just for shits and gigs, even if you're not interested in content or anything like that. Like just literally post whatever the fuck you want. Like on my Instagram stories, I mean, if you follow me, you probably see I post like at least 3 or 4 a day. It's literally just whatever pops into my fucking head. Like, and even like my captions, like some of my friends, it makes me so happy. Some of my friends will make a comment to me and they'll be like, that Instagram picture you posted was fucking hilarious. And the caption was just like, so you. Like they'll be like, I literally read it in your voice because that's just like how you talk. That's how you speak. And I was like, that is what I wanted, was like, I wanted to just have a page that resonated with me, that when other people would look at it, they would actually feel like they see like a person with individuality and character and personality, because that is what I am in real life. And so I don't know, I feel happier and more content with my page right now because I feel like it looks like me. It resonates with me. My captions are me. My stories are me. And I don't know. It feels very comfortable. I know like Instagram and social media is like not the main goal of life or anything like that. And I'm not even talking about it in that kind of sense. Because for me, it's really not about like, oh, putting on display so that other people can see who I am or where I'm at in life and think that I'm like doing amazing. That was something funny that did happen to me though when I came to LA, was like when I was posting stuff. Sometimes there was one time, so when I came to LA, I was that assistant for an influencer, and I got to go to like an event and meet like Scarlett Johansson. So I like posted a picture of us two together, and it was so funny because there was a few people who were like, "Oh my god, like you seem like you're doing so great in LA," and I was like, I don't know. It was obviously a super sweet message, and I was very appreciative of that. But for me, it was like, God, social media is fake as fuck. Because at that point, I didn't have the podcast. I didn't have this sense of identity that I have right now. This is about a year ago. And I'm just posting this picture with a celebrity because I got to go to this event. But I'm just an assistant. I wasn't invited to the event myself. You know what I mean? So it was like, God, social media is fucking crazy because it looks to the outside world that I'm doing amazing and I'm in LA and I'm doing all this cool stuff, which is true. But to an extent, I was like falling apart and struggling to pay my rent and working at a gym that I didn't really like and really was questioning where the fuck I was going. And so, it was just like a funny testament to like social media. It is bullshit. It truly is. And I catch myself on that too sometimes right now, like seeing other people's stuff and being like, they seem so happy. I wish I could be them. But now I pause, I catch myself and I'm like, Amber, you probably look really fucking happy to the world through social media, even when that's not necessarily true. So take it for a fucking grain of salt. But I do enjoy my social media presence more now that I just started doing whatever the fuck I want, posting whatever the fuck I want. Like, but that's a stressor too, is like, especially in regards to this podcast and like when I'm creating content, which I love to do. Like it's Thursday, I'm recording today. Like it's a fucking wonderful day. I love waking up on Thursdays and I wake up whenever I want. And then I get to like dress up and look cute and like talk to you guys and just like spill my guts. Like it's amazing. This is like, a dream for sure. But that's a hard part too, is like thinking about content and like trying to be authentic and be yourself. And I don't worry so much about what, the world judging me as much. I don't know why that doesn't bother me as much, but more so I think about the people in my real life that I talk about on here. I always mention my friends. I mentioned my ex, and I like, fair warning, before I did talk about any of this, I did ask him when we broke up if it was okay for me to talk about this stuff on my podcast. Cause I do want to make sure like he's comfortable and cool with it all too. But also it would be really hard to be a part of my life and not have me talk about you on here. So that kind of shifts the perspective as well, because it's like, these are real people. When I made that episode about family, those are real people. And I feel like we're straying from the topic at hand here. Let me take a look at my fucking notes to see what I'm supposed to be talking about. But I feel like this is a good one. Okay, so I had written down, like, I wanted to talk about loving the current version of yourself, because I feel like in terms of identity, like, what the fuck even is identity? What does that even fucking mean? Because I feel like for a while I've been chasing something, but like, is it even real? Because truly what I want to do instead of find out who I am because I already know who I am right now. And this is the current version of myself. And hopefully, as I like progress through life and get to know myself a little bit better, am I even really getting to know myself better? Or am I just getting to know a different version of myself? I mean, when I was 16, there's only one 16-year-old version of me. And she didn't live in LA, and she wasn't really that much into social media. And she didn't know who she was, that's for sure. She didn't like know what her interests were or her goals were. But she was like really, really into volleyball, and that was like her whole life, and it made her really happy. And that was her. And that's a different girl than what's here right now. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not like volleyball is not as big of a part of my life as it once was then, which is totally fine. Again, we're people, we grow and we change. That's not to say that I don't have like a very special place in my heart for that sport, because I do, and I love it a lot. And what's even more cool is being a personal trainer right now. I have 2 clients who play volleyball. One of them that I'm going to start doing one-on-one skills training with shortly here. And I haven't really like been connected to volleyball in a couple years. I mean, when I was in college, I played on like a rec league and stuff. And so that for me feels like a connection to my past self, that 18-year-old, 16-year-old girl who was playing year round, club, fucking school, like, God. And I just like, it's like, just like working with this girl and these clients have like really brought me back to that time. And I'm feeling a connection to my past self because again, I've taken a really big break from that. You know, in high school, like I said, I was playing all year round, I was fucking captain of the fucking varsity team, like whatever, like I was really into it, and it was a really big part of my life, and I loved it so much. And then we got to college, and like, you know, I was like this new chapter, and it was like volleyball wasn't a part of that anymore. And it's again, not that I didn't care about it, but other things kind of took hold. And it wasn't even until my junior or senior year of college that I played on a little rec team, which was so much fun and filled my cup for sure. But then I got out to California, and I was like, I want to play sand volleyball. Like I want to have people to play with. This is like something that I love, even if it isn't something that I'm going to like pursue seriously. Like I just want to like, literally, I just want to play sometimes. And I'm kind of far from the beach. I live like an hour from the beach. So I haven't really done that very much. However, it's like interesting the way that this sport has come back into my life, because in college I started to play rec a little bit, and now I'm a personal trainer, and I might get to do skills training with another girl who's like right where I was when I was 16. And so it's just like, I don't know. It feels like very full circle moment. And it's like, maybe I knew myself better than I thought, because I do love this sport, and I always have. And that's something I knew about myself when I was 16. And I've always felt like I didn't know who I was, and I didn't what identity, but maybe I did, you know what I mean? And like, same thing as for right now. I've told this to a few friends. For those of you who don't know, I go to like, I take a dance class once a week here in Los Angeles over at Millennium. Like every fucking Wednesday, I go to like this hip hop class. And I always wanted to dance. When I was younger, I always wanted to dance, but I played volleyball all year round, and it was like kind of my whole life. And I wanted to dance, but again, like I was in a small town. And so like there was like a studio there, but it was small. And I think I honestly might have just been ballet. I don't even know. But anyways, and so I just never did. Also, hilariously enough, when I was 16 and I realized I wanted to dance, I thought that I was like too old. Hilarious, right? A 16-year-old being fucking too old, too old to start something new. Like that's fucking crazy. That's how we should have known I had anxiety from the fucking get-go. But I was like, you know, some people have been dancing since they're fucking 4 or 6 years old. And it wasn't me. So then I felt like it wasn't for me, which is ironic as fuck. Whatever. Again, everything happens for a reason. I was genuinely doing the best that I could at the time. Do I wish I would have started dancing then? Yes. But again, that would have had to cut into volleyball. And that's a part of who I am too. So we're making peace with all the fucking decisions that we've made. And super, super grateful that now I live in LA years later, and I dance once a week. And I also take voice lessons once a week. And it's like, what is my life? Like, and it's funny because like singing and dancing is always something that I've like loved to do, but I've never done it like seriously. I've never fucking taken choir. I've never was in like fucking anything, never went to a studio, never nothing. I literally just always at home all the time. If you're friends with me, I'm that annoying friend that like is always fucking screaming at the top of her lungs. Like genuinely the one that just fucking busts out singing. And like, while I'm talking, sometimes I have to sing because there's like a song in my head and I have to like get it out of my mouth. Like it's very, very annoying if you become close to me. It's probably more annoying than it is anything else, but it's like genuinely something that I just like fucking love. I just fucking love doing it. Like when we're fucking, soon as I was 21, I was like, let's go to the fucking karaoke bar. Like that's literally in college what my fucking roommates bought me one year for Christmas was a little karaoke machine. And the minute I opened it, they were like, this was a mistake. And I was like, yeah, it was. So I'm never going to stop using it. Like literally. So it's funny that now I'm in LA. I'm super happy because I dance and sing once a week. And like, you know, these are things that fill my cup. And I feel like I'm like getting closer to my identity and figuring out who I am. But in reality, those were always a part of me. I was always singing and dancing. Even when I was fucking 16, 18. Even my fucking dad had told me not too long ago when I was like singing in the car with him. He was like, at least you're better than you used to be. Because I always am just screaming in the car. But it used to sound bad. And he said, now it's better. So thanks, Dad. But like, it's funny because it's like I'm trying to figure out who I am, but it's like maybe who I am was there all along, and I just needed to like look into it, or like just start spending time on things that you enjoy. Because like, again, and we've talked about this before, I get a lot of productivity anxiety and stressing about like what I'm spending my time doing, and am I being productive? Am I getting shit done? Am I working toward my goals here? And it's important to recognize that if you're doing something that you love, it's not a waste of time. For sure. Like, again, I go to this fucking dance class once a week. I don't think I'm going to become a professional dancer. But I love it. It fills my cup and it gets me 90 minutes of cardio, which I fucking hate cardio. So like win-win. And I get to meet a bunch of fucking cool people out here, which like, again, making friends in a new city is super hard, but doing stuff like going to dance classes and like that kind of shit is a great way to meet people. And then it's funny enough, a lot of people that I've met there they were never dancers either. They're just like, I just took this class like a year ago and I love it and I stayed, which is so, so fun. And so, yeah, the same can be said for the singing too. It's like, that was always there all along. I just didn't like look for it, you know? And that's funny because it's like, Amber, like it's actually on you. It was there all along. But again, I have no fucking regrets or any of that shit. Because we're all just like doing the best that we can. And like, this is the way that my story was supposed to unfold. I really do believe that. Like, do I wish I would have started singing and dancing younger? Yeah, maybe. But like, who's to say that where that would have gotten me anyways? You know, like I've had like plenty of like good things happen in my life, met many cool people. I mean, like I said, I went to school for 4 years for a degree I'm not using, but I met a lot of really cool people there. I met 3 people who moved out to Los Angeles with me to the other side of the fucking country, you know? Through architecture school and college is where I met, you know, my partner for the last 4.5 years. And I don't regret a single minute of that relationship. I learned so much about myself from him, about growing up, maturity, communication, and passion, because he is someone who's always known what he wanted to do. And so I got to learn so much about identity and stuff through him. So it's like, I don't know. For sure, a takeaway from this episode is going to be like going easy on yourself and like recognizing that like the past version of you really was doing the best they could with what they had at the time, you know? Like, I think it's really important to look at your past self and like with just like very kind eyes and like really recognize that like you didn't have then all these tools you have now. And hindsight's always 20/20. And we can always say like, oh, well, if I knew then what I know now, but who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like, why would you want to know then what you know now? You know? Because like I said, things unfold for a reason. And if I would have like been singing and dancing at a significantly younger age or came to LA sooner than I had, then I would have missed out on a lot of amazing people who are in my life right now because I met them at that integral time where I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So like, I don't know. I for some reason don't struggle with that one. My issues are future tense, but like, but that's what I would encourage you to do this week. That can be the shit that we're working on this week is like remembering at the end of the day, like all you have is you. So like fucking be nice to you and even be nice to the past you and the future you and all of the above. I think in terms of like identity, something that I've been thinking about lately is kind of what I had mentioned. Like, you know, who I am has always been there all along, but at the same time, who I am is also ever changing. You know what I mean? So like, I don't want to say chasing something for too long. Like, oh, like who am I? Which that's always going to change. She's always going to change. I don't know why I'm talking about myself in third person, but for some reason that makes it a little bit easier for me to like conceptualize myself. So it has to be her. It has to be Amber. But yeah, like that's kind of how I feel is like, I'm sorry, Princess just literally jumped off the fucking bed. Now she's like looking at me. She doesn't fucking know we're recording right now. Anyways. So I'm trying to like really accept myself in the present tense and like look at myself for who I am right now and be like, she's great. She's phenomenal. She's doing her best as I always am, as I always was. And she's going to change for sure. Like Amber right now at 23 is going to be a very different person at 28, probably. Looking at my 16-year-old self was a very different person. That I held different religious beliefs. I held different political beliefs. I felt differently about certain things. You know, even like I mentioned in the last episode, I'm feeling very cynical. Like I don't believe in love. that's definitely going to change. Like I'm not even stupid enough to think that like for sure my opinions and my thoughts will always change, because I'm also like ever changing and ever growing. You know what I mean? Like if you're not changing and you're stagnant, we should raise some red flags. The goal is to always be changing, always be becoming a better version of yourself, hopefully happier, healthier, and treating people better, and all of the above. And like I said, yeah, I used to be a different person. And do I think that she was necessarily great? She had some character flaws, let me tell you. Amber from the past has not done some like great things for sure. I made some bad decisions, of course, and definitely treated people wrong. And that's okay, because again, I was doing the best that I could with at the time. And since then I've learned and I've grown. And again, I wouldn't change it, because you have to like fuck up in order to learn. So it's the only way, especially for someone like me who's stubborn as hell. Seldom do I like take someone else's advice. I'm always the person who has to fucking learn the hard way. So it is what it is, but that's the shit we're working on this week. So give yourself some grace, look at yourself with kinder eyes, respect your past version of yourself, no regrets. And no regrets for where you are right now. Look at your current self with kinder eyes and recognize that right now you're also doing the best that you can with what you have. And if you don't feel that way, like if you're hearing this right now and you're like, I genuinely don't think I'm doing the best that I can with what I have right now, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I would really love to dive in to that with someone. If that's genuinely how you feel, my DMs are always open. You can always hit me up. And I would love to like chit chat more with someone about any of your thoughts or feelings on this, because identity is such a fucking hard one. So that's the shit I'm wondering this week, is like, what the fuck is identity? What does it mean to you? Is it a little more like character based, personality based, fashion based, clothing based, social media based, politically, religious, whatever the fuck? Like, what the fuck does identity mean to you? And how do you resonate with your own? So that's what I'm wondering that this week. It's all that kind of deep, heavy stuff. But that's all I got for you. So let me know how you're feeling, what you're thinking about in this episode. And I will see you on the next one, because this shit is hard. And go ahead and follow my Instagram, TikTok, if you want to hear more from me, if you want to chit chat with me. We can dive into this at Amber Meisner with 2 R's.